We're excited to start fall camp. It's been a really good summer, and I'll get into some of that. But we're excited for fall camp to start. We got to do a great job during camp to finish our development, and that's one thing I think this football team has done a really good job of, is develop during the summer here and the spring, obviously. And we've got some more to do, and part of that before we play OU, Ohio University, on August 26th. As coaches, the most important things and responsibilities are fostering and developing our players, not just as football players and individuals, but as men also. And, we're constantly putting pressure to develop in everyday life and the excellence that we want to have. Our team has worked hard. We came off another bowl season, which was great. Disappointed with the finish of the season. Obviously, we want to win championships. We haven't done that since 2016, and so we've got a lot of work to do. And I'm excited about what's ahead of us. And our team has come to work every day. Adam Hall, I think, is probably as good a strength coach as there is in this country. And the one thing about Adam, he's going to shoot you straight. He's going to push our guys, and he's done that. And he likes the competitiveness that he has seen so far. We made some coaching changes a year ago. I'm excited about those changes. I'm excited about Doug Deacon. You look at what Deke's done in special teams, from a not just San Diego State standpoint, but you look at who he's brought in, who he's recruited, and who he's developed. Kurt Maddox, our defensive coordinator, is the best coach I've ever coached with, and I knew that a long time ago. And the way he handles his room, the linebackers, the defense, and then his knowledge, and then really excited about Ryan Lindley. And this will be Ryan's offense. So that'll be a little different than what you saw last year, and really excited about what he brings. He's when you coach guys and then now you're working with them and you hire them, they're like your sons. And so from what he did, since I was the head coach here in 2009-10, and how he's gone out and I would say blossomed, and really his knowledge of the game and what he's doing, I think he's done an excellent job. So all three of those guys, they bring a great deal of an IQ. The relationships that they have with their players is second to none. We are a young football team. We have 5 returning starters on defense and 7 on offense. So we got to continue that development in fundamentals and how we want to play the game. We have great competition on both sides of the ball. I think we've taken advantage of what we've had to in the portal and what we've had to replace some guys. So I'm excited about that and where we're at. And as most of you know, I'm a big believer that the game is played up front on your defensive line and offensive line. Obviously, we lost 3 defensive line starters, and all 3 of those guys, like 26 other guys, are in NFL camps right now. And we're really proud of that because of the development. And really think Bojay will do a great job at the front. I think Mike has really done a good job as we've started to grow in the competition and the guys that are here. A lot of focus by this football team. There's been a lot of focus. And I know they're excited. We've had a little different week this week, and usually they'd be in here in the mornings, which they have in 2 of them, but they'll be Coach Hall has got them coming in a little later today, so we're excited about that. We mentioned the 26 guys on NFL teams. We got 5 other guys who are XFL or USFL, and I think that's, we're real proud of that as a program, because it tells you that guys are being developed, and I think we've done a good job of that. Conference realignment is the elephant in the room, and I think we've got great leadership here at San Diego State. We got an athletic director who won the award for the best athletic director, and part of that is navigating tough times, and I think he's done that. My big deal is I can't control that. I'm going to control what I can control, and that's this football team. So, we got a great conference. We really do, and it's competitive as heck. I referred at media days, you look at 2 years ago, the bowl games and the cup, and I don't even know the name of the cup. Jamie, you know? Does anybody know? No? Okay, that's all right then. But, we won the cup, the Mountain West Conference, for the most bowl wins. And I think that speaks volumes a little bit about who we are and the competition and the competitiveness that we have.
Is this the biggest challenge you've ever had since year one? I think when you won 4 games, because you got to replace so many guys in the trenches on both sides.
This team kind of reminds me of that, but it also, Lee, I've liked this team since January. When we're out there on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 a.m. and how they've competed and the toughness level that I've seen. So, we've got work to do. There's no question about it. I'm excited about it. I kind of, when a challenge is there, I kind of get excited about it.
And speaking to some of your coaches in the offseason, they talk about kind of emphasizing results and production over maybe perfect technique. Is that something that you as a leader kind of focused on in the offseason?
Well, I think fundamentals and technique are really, really important. I mean, I believe in that wholeheartedly, and I believe if you have really good fundamentals and techniques, you've got a great opportunity to overcome maybe something that you didn't do as well. So I'm a big believer in that. I will always stress that, and I know the guys will.
Is it fair to say starting center is the most important battle in ball?
Well, he's the only guy who touches the ball every play, right, on the football field. And so I think that, between what we've got there with Miles and bringing him in, I think is a really positive for us. I think, if we can get that, position the way we want to get it, and having Ross then play guard, I think it helps us down the road. I do love Ross in there at center. I really do. He's a big physical guy. Maybe a little too big right now.
Where do the Division I O-lineman transfer guys fit in?
Well, I think it's important. I think Miles, like I said, he's going to work him at center, and we're going to work him there. He'll also get some guard work. I think when you look at both sides of the ball, I mean, Sam on defense, as a inside that tackle position what Jonah played, and really Cam did for the first couple of years, and then we moved him more to end. The one thing on our defense, and this has always been there, they have to know how to play both because of what we do and how we line up and all those things. So you just don't have, okay, you're going to be in one shade, one tilt every time. That doesn't happen. It may be an end if we want to shift the front to the strength the other way. It will be the end on the backside. So they all have to know what's best. They got to know everything. I guess I should say that.
Second round of the portal was new this spring. Can you talk about what was different than the January round, and were you able to get as much out of it as you would have hoped? I
think we did, Kirk. I think, I think we got guys who fit what we want to do and how we want to do it. You look at the two safeties coming in, I thought, JD was here for the spring, but I think it brings an awful lot, both those guys. When you have to replace a couple guys, but the caliber that we were able to replace that.
Do you think the portal still needs to evolve in certain ways?
There's no question.
And in what way?
Well, I think, there maybe have to be a little bit more guardrails on it still. I think, the time, how long is it gonna be, a portal be open and all that? What's fair, also, it's fair, right now, it's all fair for the players. I don't know if it's all fair for the universities yet. That makes sense?
Last year, you were coming off a 12-win season, a brand new stadium. Expectations were very high. Obviously, you didn't, meet those, going
Yeah.
7-6. Do you think because maybe the expectations are a little bit lower this year, the stadium's already been open, that could fuel the team to overachieve?
That's an interesting question. I would say, and it's probably a better question if you would ask me that a week before the Ohio game, the Ohio University game. We call it Ohio University, right, Lee?
Bobcats.
Bobcats, there you go. But how we come out these next 3 weeks.
Can you talk about Cody Moon and what he
Yeah.
brings, what you saw, and is he like somebody who's played here before?
I-
Activity?
Yeah, I remember we played New Mexico 2 years ago and watching their defense and watching him. And he kind of, I don't want to say mesmerized me, but I was always looking to where he was and what he's doing. And then after the game last year, I shook his hand and said, really like how you play. And then obviously he ends up here. I think he brings some toughness to us. The only thing I don't like is, and he knows this, so he's got to keep his weight up. He's a guy who either struggles or doesn't eat enough, and especially when he goes home and he needs to do that. But I think he's got a good football IQ. He runs well, and I'll go back to his weight. I think if he's a little heavier, he may be able to play longer, have a little more beef on him. So, but I think he brings a lot. That's a good question about, remind me of anybody. Andrew Lucky, I really liked. I liked how he played. We lost 2 games. In those 2 games, he didn't play in COVID year. And he brought a lot of energy, and I think Cody does the same thing. I think his ability, Hacksaw, to play many positions as a linebacker goes, and how he has the ability to help so much in the special teams.
He and McDonald, a pretty good tandem?
I would think so, yeah, I think so. Cody looks like Eminem, so that's what we call him, that's what I call him.
Brady, you've talked about before, like a willingness in the non-conference to play a member. Like, you're not one to go to athletic directors or administrators and say this is who gets playing. And you look at this non-conference schedule, it's as legitimate as any non-Power 5 non-conference schedule. What kind of opportunity is it, whether it's Ohio and
Sure.
the Pac-12 opponents too?
Yeah, well, I think a couple things. Number one, Ohio University, and I'm very biased because of the conference they play in. It's a conference I played in, a conference I coached in. OU has always had tough guys. They've always been physical. In 2018, I think that's the right year, they beat the living heck out of us, right? So this is a good physical team that won't be intimidated coming in here because they play big schools all the time, and so they won't be intimidated. Idaho State, they got a new coach. They got a new staff. they'll be a little different because they don't play before we play them, right? They play week 1, we're week 0. So it's going to be interesting. You know, there may be some things that we don't know that they may, you know, show us. And so I think that's a little different. You go to UCLA and having them here at home, and we're excited about it. They're a much better team than they were in 2019 when we went up there and beat them. They're more physical of a football team. I think Chip's got that. And I think they've recruited well and got some guys off the portal that will help them. And then going up to Corvallis will be fun. I mean, and I say that, you know, I coached there for 6 years. And so, and I think Jonathan's done a really good job with his football team. And I really like, you know, what they've done with their facilities. You know, when I was there in 89 to 94, they didn't have the facilities they have now, but I do. My best friend lives up there, so it's going to be fun. You know, I'm excited about the schedule. I really am.
Jalen Maiden, how big a jump has he made since he has been here every day with that new offensive coordinator? You expect to see a dynamically different player?
I think he's better. I think he's different. I think he understands the offense. You know, and having an understanding first is really important. Ryan can understand it, but that doesn't count. It's if the players understand it. So I like his development that he's had so far. The one thing I've kind of told him, he's got to be more decisive and be a little bit more confident in what you're doing. You know, I never played quarterback. It's probably a good reason for it, but I just think that he's got to not be afraid to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake. No one's played a perfect game. You know, Ryan Lindley is the all-time leading passer here, right? He made some mistakes, but I really think this is for Jalen. I think it's going to be a good year.
And what do you think the Lindley offense's personality is going to be? Because he's had so much experience in doing different things with leadership in the NFL.
Yeah, well, from the NFL, from Leach and being with Mike, even though he was more with defense at that time, I think, well, I know we're going to be more like Utah. You know, more like how they play personnel-wise, right? I mean, if you look at our roster, we got some tight ends on that roster, and we got them on there for a reason.
What do you need to see these next few weeks to feel confident about the team going into the season?
Well, I'll always be confident. I mean, I will. I might be frustrated, you know, if we don't take care of the ball, if we don't tackle well, if we don't do the basic things at the line of scrimmage that you have to do, then I'd be pretty upset with them. But I don't foresee that happening.
Talk a little bit about Keenan and the impact he will hopefully make on this team too.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, when you look at our running back room, and I think Jimmy Beal has really, you know, since the time he's been here, has worked really hard with the relationships in that room. You know, you had Horton there for a long time, and I think the players and him have really come together, you know, in that room. I think Keenan has really done a real good job, in my opinion, in his leadership. I think his leadership through the summer, the spring and summer, has been second to none. I'm really excited about him. I think, you know, the physicalness that I think he gained a little bit because of what he's done body-wise and in the weight room. So that's something that I'm real excited about.
Since you've been back here, Jordan Berg pretty much was the
Yeah.
returner. You know, he handled that role. How do you see, you know, who's going to step up and take that role, you know, moving on?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I was thinking about that last night because I thought about Jordan Burden and I said, oh no, he's not coming in. So we got some guys that we think can not maybe be Jordan Bird yet, but can grow into Jordan Bird. So, I think our skill level, at the receivers, Shaw, he's a guy who, he caught a lot punts in last year, pre-practice and that stuff. So I think him, I think, Keenan's a guy, you look at kickoffs. So we've got bodies. Do I have a guy that I'm definitely saying, well, he's the guy? Not yet.
All the young running backs that you've gotten recruited here, how do you help them make the step to the next level to the point that they can play and contribute at this level? Because their history in high school doesn't mean very much on the field here. How do you do that? How do you get them to go to the next level? Lucky Sutton. all those-
Yeah, I think number one, it's, we got a good room. There's some good talent in there. I think there's some guys who need some development. Armstead, I think Jalen's, he's a guy, and if you're talking about going to the next level, I think there's, Keon, I think he can. I think Sutton, I mean, there's enough in there. Cam Davis, and we've talked about this as a Martin Blake. Martin Blake's a walk-on here, and I'm going to tell you, he's well respected in that locker room, and he can be physical at the point of attack. Kind of like if you get in two backs and you got a fullback. He's a good player. Canley is a good player. How to get them all on the field? Well, that's our job, and we got to do a good job of that. And like I've told Ryan and I've told the offensive staff, we're going to do what our guys do best, not what we think in our mind what we'll do best. Because it's about what the players can do and the players know, not about what we know and we can do.
What's the biggest things you need to identify and achieve in the preseason camp?
I think when you look at the rotation things from, and I'll go, Kirk, from that running back room. Who's it going to be, right? So we got a lot of work in, really the next 15, 16 days that you'll have a good idea who that's going to be. I think the O-line, D-line, right? I think those two positions. And when I say a rotation, it's more from the backfield set, what we do well, okay? And then the defensive line. We only have, we graduated Tavai and Banks, right? Garrett Fountain's a good football player. That you go back and you watch the amount of plays that he played. When he was in there, he was making the plays. I went back, like we all do. He's a good football player. And I think the leadership, Dan Apoko, he's up. I think he got his weight up to 272 or 73 or something like that. And that's one of the things we asked him to do. There's some guys from the portal who will shock you a little bit, but I think there's also, and I'll go back too, I think Bojay is a heck of a D-line coach. His enthusiasm for it, his excitement about the game and all that, passion. I like our defensive line. I don't know if I answered your question. I was kind of all over.
Are you still looking at transfers right now? Do you have any
No,
scholarships remaining?
no. I'm done with that.
Do you have scholarships remaining, though, that might be given to a guy who?
It could.
Speaking about the defense, what does it mean to have so many players back in the secondary in addition to, the linebackers that you mentioned with experience at the Mountain West level? What does that do for the development of the unit as a whole?
Well, I think, our back end, and we lost, we lost a couple guys, but that the recruiting that went through with JD, I think is really a big help. I think our back end, when you look at our corners, they've all played a lot of football, right? So we're excited about them. And I think linebackers, that when you look at that room, they're excited to play. I mean, there's some goofballs in there, but they love to play. They're physical guys. They have a lot of self-pride, which you really like. If we can put a front together defensively, we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
What are you doing for insurance policy at quarterback? Everybody aside from Maiden is 18 years old or with very limited snaps. Is it
Yeah.
a bit of a gamble to do it that way? They're 4 young kids with no experience?
The only thing I would say, if I didn't see Crum play the spring game like he played, because, he played really, I think he had 2 picks, but he really threw the ball well. I thought his anticipation, I thought him adjusting in the pocket, I thought he did a really good job. I think, Leo, you just haven't seen enough yet. So you look at what we have, I think we're pretty good there, Lee. Would I like to have an older guy? Probably. But I like it. I like their coach. I like how they come in and meet with him. So.
Anything else for Coach? One more, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Obviously, the character and the culture of the program doesn't change, but year to year, maybe different personality aspects develop differently. Have you got the sense for maybe what this team may be like personality-wise?
Yeah, that's a good question because, we had a bunch of older guys last year and the COVID guys the year before, right? I mean, we won 12 games. We had some guys who had come back, and they would not maybe have been there if it wouldn't have been a COVID deal, okay? A little bit last year, there were some guys. But I think last year, we just got we got to do a better job as coaches of preparing us to start the season, and then we got to finish games better. You look at the bowl game, you look at Fresno, which I don't want to look at it anymore, but it was we got to finish. We didn't finish well, one reason or another.